Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City, where we want to help you build a Lego city regardless of the space you have. This is my third video on the expansion of the Ninjago Docks. I've added 2 floors as you can see, and the parts were taken from the Chinese New Year's Eve dinner set, and this is what remains. If you want to check out the first 2 videos, do follow the links in the description below. In this video, I'm going to work on the interior of the 2 floors. Currently, they're empty, so I'm going to take the remaining parts as well as some extra parts that I've prepared, and we are going to fill the interior. The first floor, or at least the first floor of the addition, is going to be a Chinese takeout diner or restaurant, and the top floor is going to be a fortune teller's office. As always, I'm going to share my thoughts and process as we go along. So let's get started. I'm going to start off with the top floor, which is the fortune teller's office. So I'll remove the roof, which came with the original set. And this is the interior that I have created. It is currently empty, but I do have one main design feature, which is this window and the red curtains. And this came from the original Chinese New Year's Eve dinner set. So my goal is to detail this interior so that it looks like a fortune teller's office. And anytime I approach an interior build, the first thing I look at is the access point. In this case, a single door, because I do not want to build anything to block this access point, and that's obviously natural. And that's why I generally, especially for small builds, I built the door to the side, and that's why the original designers, when they built the Ninjago Docks, the doors to the side. And that's so that you can build the interior on one side, because if the door's in the middle, you can't really block the access in the middle, and then you have really little space on either side to fill it with details. So obviously I can place some of the details here. I do have one stud of space over on this side. So anytime I approach a build, the first thing I do is think of what are the things that are essential for a particular build, depending on what the concept is. For example, this is a fortune teller's office, so we definitely need a desk. We'll need chairs for the fortune teller and his customer, and different artifacts which you'll use for fortune telling. Things like books, amulets, maybe idols, and different little details that we can add in. So the way I would generally approach the largest item first. And in this case, I guess it will be the desk. I also work with what can be placed against the wall to get it out of the way. And in that case, that will be this brown studs over here, as you can see. And the reason you see brown studs is because I used a 2 by something plate on the outside for the bracing of the wall. So let's start with the bookcase first. And this bookcase will only be 1 stud deep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a bookcase, and I have a lot of pre-built small builds that I keep, and this is an example. This is a chest of drawers, and it's very simple. It basically uses 6 of these headlight bricks, and then you take jumper plates and put them in front. And I also place the 1 by 6 plates above and below to give it a bit of depth. So here we have the chest of drawers. So this is the basic unit which will fit inside. And you know what I'm going to do, just to make things easy for this interior build, because it's so small, I'm just going to break this apart, and I'm going to remove one side of the wall, and this is just to facilitate our big human hands so that we can build the inside easily. I think that will be enough for now. So this will sit in over here, just like that. But obviously I should put something on top. If you do not need to put anything on, let's say a bookcase, I would generally recommend tiling it just to give it a nice smooth finish. But I like to maximize all the space I have. So what I'm going to do is to build a bookshelf on it and maybe put some decorations. So let's talk about the bookshelf first. I'm going to use these light tan parts, and I'm going to build a bookshelf first with the supports, and it just goes on like that. I'll make it 4 studs wide, and I can put a towel here. That's like the bottom of the bookshelf. Now you notice this is a jumper stud, or a modified brick with a stud on the side, and these are regular bricks, and this is a technique so that you can actually put together what looks like a set of books. So these are basically 1 by 2 plates topped off with a 1 by 2 towel. and they look like books when they're stacked together. So you can actually place this against that modified brick with the stud on the side, so it holds it in place, and now it looks like you have some books in a bookshelf. Obviously you need a cover, so I'm just going to take a 1x4 towel, and there we have a little bookcase. We've got some empty studs here, so I'm going to cover it with a jumper plate, and I'm going to take one of the flower pots from the Chinese New Year dinner set, and that will go on like that. And now we have a very simple furniture display which can go in perfectly here, and it goes just underneath that family portrait, and we'll assume that is the fortune teller's children's family. And this came also from the Chinese New Year's Eve dinner set. So that works. Now it does take up one stud of space when you think about the door, but I think that's perfectly fine because a minifig can easily get through as well. So that works. So the next thing I'm going to build is the biggest item, and that will be the table. So what I do is I calculate how many studs I have. I have 6 studs here, which is good, and I generally always like to work with even numbers for Lego. So I'm going to use 2 studs depth or width for the table, and then I have another 2 studs each for the chairs. So that would just fit on this side of the room. Now, when you start building the interior, you want to think about the tiling and the floor as well. In this case, I'm going to take the tiling from here. So this is the Chinese New Year's Eve set or dinner set. I'm going to move this out of the way. I don't need that table. And you'll notice a bunch of tiles over here. There's gold and a dark blue. So I'm going to fill up this space over here with gold and dark blue. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up the gold first. Typically, I do build the interior first before I put in the floor tiling. But because this is so small, I can do it concurrently because there's really not much furniture or details I can add in. In this case, I've got another table and the stools or the chairs to add in. So let's just remove all this first, and then I'll tile the inside perimeter of this floor. So I've stopped short of filling this part up first because I now want to figure out how I'm going to place the furniture so that I can decide how much I need to tile or want to tile. So let's think about the table first because that's the next biggest item. I'm going to build a table to match the interior of the fortune teller's office. So let's do something out of brown plate. All right, let's first build a desk. Let's use these log parts as the supports. I'll put something up in front like this and put a tabletop on. So it's really straightforward and simple. So this is my desk and it will go in something like that. So now I need to figure out how I'm going to place this down. And what I'm going to do is create feet, maybe. Let's see if I need to raise it up this way, all I need really is a towel. So what I would do is I'll add feet by putting 2 1x2 plates. Let's grab one more over here. So here's my completed desk. This will go here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it down by 1 stud. Now remember we talked about this being blue. So I'm going to take a corresponding blue plate and this will hold it down. So I do not need to have both legs being held down by studs because it's just so small. This will allow me then to continue tiling the gold over here. Because if not, I would need to have a gold plate, which I don't have, and then I'll need 2 1x1 gold tiles just to fill in the area. It just makes it a bit more complicated. This actually simplifies things a lot by just putting this like that. So this works for me, and I'm going to build stools, and I'm going to build stools using these round plates and cone pieces. And here we have 2 stools very oriental in look. So 4 legs and just a top, and these will be placed right here. Now again, I'm going to hold them in place, and because these are just stools, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use jumper plates to hold them in place. And I've got, I believe, 2 jumper plates over here in that blue color. I'm going to place one here and one here. So that will look like that, and then the stool will be attached here and the other side. But what I'm going to do is to fill up all the space with blue towels, and this came from the Chinese New Year's Eve dinner set, and that's really a simple manner just to fill that up. And we have, so easy, just have it all toweled just like that. Now let's see if we can put in the furniture. Oh, I forgot, I have to take this out because there's a stud over here, so it's not so easy after all. Let me get that done. And here we have the table and the stools done. So what I'm going to do now is to add some decoration to the table itself. So let's smoothen it out to give it a finish. I'm not going to towel the seats because minifigs will sit there. So I'm just going to use jumper plates, 2x2 jumper plates for the table top. And I'm going to just put this red packet for good fortune, and I'll take this Chinese bowl. All these are from the New Year's Eve dinner set, and maybe it's looking at reading tea leaves or something, but that adds a nice finish. Now this piece is over here with the original design. This gives me some space to do something, so let's add in a little shelf. So I'm going to put in this dark tan, that'll be the shelf top, and I've got this little, I guess you call it maybe an idol or a little altar, whatever it is. Maybe it's something that he uses to tell the fortune. It's got a little stand, so that goes there. And that's basically the interior of this fortune teller's office. So what I need to do is tile this area. I think I'll just use it for brown to preserve this nice tiling on the inside, and I'll put everything back together and we can have a quick look. And here we have the completed interior with the fortune teller, and he is currently consulting a customer. And the customer has actually come to him and is basically complaining to him about his bad fortune and what a bad family he has. The ironic thing is this guy is the fortune teller's son. So nice little plot there. So I'm happy with this. I think this works well. It's got a nice use of space. That little red packet dropped off. We've got to put that back. But overall, I think this works very nicely. The space has been fully utilized and we've got everything we need inside. Let's go on to the floor below. This level over here is the Chinese takeout. The size is exactly the same as the fortune teller's office, and I approach it the same way as I did the other build, and that is to check out the access points. Now for this particular Chinese takeout, obviously there's no dining options inside, so there's no tables inside. It's basically a kitchen and people will be ordering right here on this tiny landing. And I'm going to take the cue from food stalls that can be found in hawker centers in Asia, especially Southeast Asia. And these food stalls are known as rice packets or packet rice. And basically you'd go in and there'll be a spread of different dishes. You get a bowl or packet of rice if you're doing a takeout, and you just point to the different dishes that you want. They'll scoop a bit, put it inside your pack, and you just pay for that. So these stalls are very popular in Southeast Asia, especially in food courts and hawker centers. And what they have is a counter and shelf system where they have dishes of all the different foods that you can choose from. And I think that will work excellent with the decorated tiles that came from the Chinese New Year's Eve dinner set. There are many different tiles, both in round and 1x2 shape. So I think this is great in order to display all those food decorated tiles in such a small space. So the first thing I'm going to do is to remove one wall so I can better access the interior, and then we'll start building the inside from there. So here we have the wall removed. Now, just due to the layout of this particular build, like before, I'll be building the big stuff on this side over here because this is the door, but I'm going to take advantage of this one stud area here. And this is where I'm going to do the display counter and shelf for the food, because that makes sense, because it's what the person can see here, or the customer can see immediately, and the kitchen will fill up this area here. So let's start with the kitchen, because it's on the inside. It might take up a lot of space, so I have to figure this out. I've got 6 studs or 7 studs to work with here. So I'm going to have a base plate of 6 studs here. This would be the base for my kitchen shelves, counters, or stoves. And the reason I'm putting the plate is because I'm going to be tiling this area up, so I just need to raise it up. What do I need? I definitely need a stove, which I have pre-built here. And this stove, I guess, will go in the corner. Notice I'm not pressing anything down because I'm trying to figure out where things go. I should have a food preparation area or something here. So let's do a counter of some sorts. And again, I'm using the same technique as I did with the fortune teller's office, and that is to do these shelf or drawer systems. So this would have to go into the plate, something like that. Let's take this out just to make it easier. And this will go here. So I think I can just press this down a bit more tightly, and I'll need a plate for the countertop. That works pretty well. And then I can put some items here. I can put, I guess, this soup bowl. So it makes sense if I have a little pot. It cooks, and then the soup goes into the soup bowl or container over here. And then I can take this, this looks like steamed buns, or it could be what they call rice dumplings, tang yuan, and that can be next to it as well. So I think this works pretty well. So that goes there. I will put a little counter here. I've got a 3 stud space here. So let's put a counter made from a 1x3 brick, but I will need to put a base as well, like before. So I'm going to use this black plate, and then to raise it the same height, I'll put this gray 1x3 plate. So let's imagine this goes in here, and that goes something like that. All right, that makes sense. Now, what I'm going to put here will be food packets, basically empty boxes of packets. So I can use this. This is a 1x2 brick stack or column, and I've just got a plate on top. That can go here, and we can have another food container over here. That's a 1x1 brick with a towel. So we've got 2 different options based on what you order, and that could go something like that. Now that works well. As you can see, lots of space and clearance for the passageway, but I've got almost everything I need. But you know what I need? For any kitchen, we need some kind of tap, because you need water to make your soup and stuff like that, and to cook. But obviously, there's no space to put a conventional sink and tap. But you know what I could do? I could put a tap here on the wall. Imagine if this wasn't brown wood, but we assume that this is a pipe, and then we could have a tap coming out so it can pour into the pot and stuff like that. So let's take this out. What I can do is I can remove this column, because this is a 1x6 column, I believe, or 1x8 column, 1x6. And if I change this to a pipe, I could also put in a tap. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to build a pipe with a tap and put it here to replace this column. So what I've done here is to replace this brown column with what looks like pipes and a tap right over here. So if this goes here like that, that's about the right height for a minifig to reach and to fill up a pot of some sorts. So let's do that by pushing this in just like that. And a shout out to subscriber Manuel. I can't pronounce his last name. He's from Germany, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But he gave me the idea of putting the tap above the stove. He made a comment in a previous video where I detailed the interior of a Lego house. And you can check out that video in the link in the card above or the description below. So that works perfectly over here. And I can put this here. I'm not going to press anything down at this point because I still want to do the tiling. But that gives me a good idea of how the kitchen would look like. That's really compact and it works. Now let's talk about this side over here, which is the shelving system I talked about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a shelf, probably, well, it's not going to be 6, it's going to be 5 studs wide, and the reason is the shelf itself is going to be 2 studs deep. That's in order to put the big tile pieces like this. But if I have it 6 studs or 7 studs, it gets too close to the door and minifigs would basically bang into the corner. That's not very safe. So I need something that is 5 studs long. Now there's no 5 stud plate, so you either have to combine plates, whether it's a 3 stud and 2 stud or a 4 and a 1. I'm going to do a 4 and 1, and this is how I'm going to create a counter shelf that is 5 studs long. I'm going to use 2 plates which are 2 by 4, overlap them like that, and then I'll place a stud above and below, and that's a 1 by 2 plate. So here I have a 5 by 2 shelf, although it's double the thickness, but this will work. So that can go something like that. I will need to create, when I have done that, actually over here I've actually put in a base of 7 studs, and you understand why in just a bit. I'm just raising it up. So I'm using 1 stud here and a 1 by 6, and let's use some cone pieces just for decoration. And what I'm doing is I'm making the base of the shelf, and I'm just decorating it so it fits in the whole Oriental Asian theme. This will allow me to put a shelf like that, and I can take a couple of these 1 by 2 decorated tiles. That's some prawns, vegetables, and spring rolls. And let's take one of those plates. Let's take the crab plate over here. That goes here. And this is my first shelf of dishes. I'm going to build up using round bricks like that. And once again, I need to create a shelf, this time 7 studs long. Now, I am reaching all the way here because I figure it's going to be quite tall. You know, well, it's still a bit dangerous. A minifig might hit his head, so he has to be careful. I could build it higher, but then the minifig couldn't reach the food. So I'm going to make that sacrifice. I am still going to make it this high, and they just have to be careful. And I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to overlap the plates. These are 2 by 6 plates, and I'm going to add in 1 by 2 plates, and I've created now a 7 by 2 plate. So previously I did a 5 by 2, this is 7 by 2. This goes on top, and now this allows me to take all these other decorated tiles, some chicken, some mushrooms, dumplings, and there's still a 1 by 2 stud left. There isn't any more decorated tiles, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use this chopstick towel and spoon, and this represents you know, your cutlery that you take away. But I'm going to use a 1 by 2 brick in the same color, so that it looks like a box or stack of chopsticks and spoons, which goes over here, and that's important for takeout. So that's what we have over here. I think this works. We get to see all the decorations of the foods, these tiles. Looks really busy and cramped, but there's still just enough space to get through. And just like a real Chinese takeout diner, it is pretty tight, but it still works. All right, the final touches I'm going to do is to tile the floor. And what I want to do is include some jumper plates so I can put in a minifig to be working inside the kitchen. And here we have the completed kitchen, or the takeout diner. Let's have a look through the door. We can see the chef at work. That's the display of the food. And from above we can see the kitchen with the soup packets, the tap, the stove. And we'll have a look at this side over here. We still have clearance for the chef or minifig to get out. And I think we're done. I'm really happy with this. I hope you enjoyed this video and how I detailed the interior for these 2 expanded Ninjago levels. We've got the takeout diner over here and the fortune teller's office over here. Which one do you prefer? Do you like the diner or the fortune teller's office? Let me know in the comments below. I still have some parts remaining from the Chinese New Year's Eve dinner set. Not many parts. I've got some of the brown plates because I couldn't incorporate them because they're too big. And I've got some accessory parts which will be very useful for other builds, and maybe I can build a small food store for the Ninjago city as well. In an upcoming video, I'll showcase the expanded Ninjago Docks, and I'll set it next to the Ninjago city, and you can see all the different improvements and modifications I've done to the entire Ninjago district. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell. Thanks for watching, and do check out these two videos before you go.